Hey guys, Mustache here with another video. I know it's been a while. I've been getting ready for Galaxy's Edge and I just got back a couple days ago. So as you can see kind of a few things spread out on the desk. Got something here that we're going to talk about right now. Got a few other things that we'll end up talking about later. But first up, let's get into the Savi's custom lightsaber. As you can see, here's mine. There's 4 styles. This is Power and Control. We have Peace and Justice, Elemental Nature, and Protection and Defense. I went with the Power and Control style because this was closest to like a Dark Jedi slash Sith style, which I really liked. I went with the red crystal, of course. I will also post pictures of kind of the experience and talk about that as well. So when building, you get 1 hilt. We'll go ahead and I'll change up the camera angle here so you can see, everything that goes into the making of the lightsaber. So here it is in all of its glory. The lightsaber, my custom lightsaber. So we have the top here, the bottom here. I like the style with the D-ring here. And then here's my activation plate. So going into this, we will take it all apart and we'll go over each part individually. So we'll go ahead and unscrew these caps here. So here's the pommel, the emitter, two pieces here, and then my activation plate. So we'll start off like we do at the very beginning. So as you can see, we have all these pieces here. So first off, and as you can see in the photos that I'll probably have accompanying me on the side, so we have the hilt here. So everybody will get one of these. These are all standard, and these colors do mean something going into the activation plate. So like I said, this is all standard going down there. It's all clear. This is where your blade is going to end up going. This is your bottom. And then when you twist this, actually... oh no, it's not twisted, to pull. So when you pull this, this is going to be your battery compartment. It's a lot like the older series lightsabers that you would buy like at a GameStop or a Walmart, like the $150 to $200 models, to where you have to screw in there, you take this out, and there are your batteries. So they slide into here, and as you can see, we do get a little arrow in there. I don't know if my camera can pick that up. There you go. And then we also have an arrow on here, and that's how you know which way it's going in. And then you get that sound as activation for your battery. So like I said, everybody starts off with this. But first, you choose your kyber crystal. And like I said, with those pictures, you'll be seeing, my choice of kyber crystal and things like that. So there's mine. I chose a red, of course. As well as each kyber crystal has a past Jedi, Dark Jedi, Sith that has used this color crystal. So in putting mine in the holocron, I found out that I had Count Dooku, which I was completely fine with. The only one I didn't want was Darth Maul, which we didn't get. Good job. So I was completely fine with that. Of course, I would have rather had a Darth Vader. I would have, best case scenario would have been Darth Vader or a Kylo Ren. But Count Dooku is not bad. He's very, detrimental to Anakin's progression. So next up is your sleeves. As you can see in the picture, you can see like my parts rack. These are the 2 sleeves that I chose. I chose this one because it's very reminiscent of Luke's saber. And then I chose this one because it's very reminiscent of Darth Vader's. Even though it's not, Darth Vader doesn't have the points on his, I thought this one was very close to it, but still, individual enough that it could be my own. And then next up, you have a choice of 2 emitters. And like I said, this was the one that I chose. I really liked the idea of these kind of like blade covers. And then you get a choice of 2 pommels. And like I said, this one was the one that I chose. I chose it because it was very close to my emitter. And then I love the kind of red right there that's kind of throughout. So I love that red that's throughout on both of those. These things are very heavy too. I probably left that previous shot in because, you could really hear how heavy it was. And then next up is your activation plate. So this was mine. These are the 2 that I chose. Like I said, this one is very close to the Luke style, which I wanted, and then a little close to the Darth Vader style as well. So, I wanted it to be a mix of both Luke and Vader in some of the aspects of the saber. Okay, so we put that kyber crystal in there first. So we got to make sure we have that top. And then when you put the kyber crystal in, the section here, and as you can see, when you try to put one in, you'll get these kind of lights here. So the top piece is spring loaded, and each crystal kind of comes to a point. So let's, boom. And so there we go, there's the kyber crystal, and as you can see, it is glowing in there. There are kind of two lights that shoot in between, so it looks like it, you know, it really is activating. And then we get those lights here that we can't do anything with that. So next up, we'll go ahead and we'll put on our activation plate, and like I said, going into that, you'll see it, red to red, and then blue to blue, and there you go. And then if you try to activate it now, you'll kind of get a sound that it's not, you know, ready. And I really do want to focus on how these look. I know I've had a few people on Reddit asking. So there you go. There's that activation plate, and the other side. This doesn't really do anything. So I'm not really sure what it's for. I do like the style of it, you know what I mean? It's a nice kind of way to move it up and down, like it, you can put your finger under there to really move it. And then next up, we have the two sleeves here. And so, as you can see, there's a little ring here, and that's going to screw in. So when we go here, we're going to screw it in there and make sure that's tight. So you're good, because this is what's going to keep this locked on. So next up, we have the other one. Make sure we have it the right way with those grooves. There you go. And boom, there you go. And now you have the major part of the saber here. Next up, we'll put the pommel on. And this pommel actually screws into the bottom of the sleeve, I guess you could call it, or the chassis. So when you screw that on, and the reason it's put together this way is, I'll show you why in a second. So then we got that top piece. Boom. So now that's fully together. That's, you know, that is the saber. Remember I said that these were important, that these were screwed on tightly? The emitter and the pommel is because when you unscrew this, you can now have those two pieces freely flowing in between that activation plate, because then you can pull that off and you can see your stone or your kyber crystal, and you can take that out to swap it out for a blue one, a green one, a black one if you're lucky enough to grab one of those, as well as a yellow or a white or a different red. So then we screw that back on, and you're good to go. You hear that? There's nothing shaking at all. So boom, that is, you know, your solid saber. Ow. It is hard. It is very hefty. This thing's pretty heavy. I would say it's heavier than the Black Series sabers. We will go into a comparison with the Black Series sabers as well. So there's the initial lightsaber. So now let's go ahead and do some comparisons. We'll get into the blade in a second as well. So here I am. We now have the Black Series Luke saber. And so look at, as a size comparison, mine is actually longer than this. This one has a triangle ring instead of the D ring. And then, like I said, I really liked that that piece was close to Luke's. And you can really tell, you know, it is one for one almost. Luke's kind of grip, his upper grip. And then looking at the activation plate, those are very similar as well. This one, Luke's being a little more fine-tunable, as we've seen in the kind of deleted scene when he's constructing his saber. And then with Luke's, you have a side activation here. With this one, it's right in the center. And so we'll bring in somebody else's saber here. Darth Vader. So now we have Darth Vader's saber. And even Darth Vader's, mine is longer because of how long the emitter is. And so looking into that, like I said, this one has a slide piece, much like Vader's in the middle. So you can really, you know, and this one's a brushed metal, a lot more like Luke's than it is the chromed out metal like Vader's. But as you can see, you know, where I got my inspiration for, you know, the style, you're really getting a full kind of caliber. Now with all of these in the shot, you can really tell where my inspiration came from. You know, a mix of Luke, a mix of Vader, and then something my own. Like I said, I love the D-ring style. It looks really good on a belt clip, as well as, you know, it just feels sturdy. You have the grip here, and then you have more of like a soft grip here, to where if you did want to, you know, double hand it and activate that way, or if you wanted to single hand it, you still have a good grip on that. So let's go ahead and move on to the blade itself, and we'll talk about that. Here's the end of the blade of the Savi's custom saber. You can actually purchase these separately as well at Doc Ondar's. And then if you see, you have two sections. You have a small metal section and a large metal section, and that's actually going to help you line that up. So we have the large metal section here, and you hear that sound, you know, telling you that you've put it in, and then you twist, and you're good to go. So then when we activate, there it is. And so while we're here, and we have the Darth Vader one, we'll turn that on, and as you can see, they look really nice together, but as you can see, they're very close. This one on camera is a little more white, but actually looking at Vader's in real life, this one's a little more white, and this one's a little more red. So together they don't look bad. You can definitely tell a difference. And not to mention the light is on, or I have the window open behind me and the light on. And then why don't we go ahead and turn on Luke's just for fun. Luke's being the brightest here because of that green, so that looks really nice. And loudness wise, they're about the same. I would consider maybe the Savi saber a little louder. I'm sure you're getting bombarded in your ear with all of these. And you get a really nice, you know, inner sound when it closes up or when you turn it off. So let's go ahead and get into size comparisons. Here's the here is the Vader and the my custom saber. And so we're doing bottom to bottom, and you can see the Vader saber portion is a little longer than the custom saber one by just maybe an inch. And then I also noticed too, the tip of the Vader is kind of frosted, so you can't see any of the electronics inside, but the tip of the Savi's one, you can actually see what looks like kind of like a pool noodle material surrounding this kind of LED strip that allows it to go up. And then, you know, why don't we turn both of these on like we did before, and we'll show you how that red looks again farther away. Actually, let me turn the light down a little bit. So here I have the light off. So as I said, you get a lot more red on this one than you do on this one. This one's a lot brighter. You can actually see a little color ripple. I don't know if that camera can pick it up, but you can see it here as well. This one just looks a lot more dark. The movement is good on both of them. And then when they hit, this one is a lot more activated with the hits. Just like both of them are very much a hilt driven hit system. So you can really, you know, get that sound, and as you can see, that hit is a lot brighter than this one. You're not getting any, you know, light feedback with the Vader compared to the custom. So let's turn the... Oh, actually, let me show you that too. So if you can see both of those, I'll turn them both off at the same time. And they're about the same, except on the come back. And so let's go with Luke's here on the light. And like I said, Luke's is already very bright. So looking at both of these, they feel more comparable to each other as far as light. This is very bright, this is very bright compared to the Vader's. Another thing too is, if you listen to the Luke saber, let me go ahead and turn the light back on. If you listen to the Luke saber, you can really hear that jangle of that D-ring. This one you can't hear. Let me go ahead and turn the Luke one off, and mine off. This is very much tight. This is a tight fit here on the D-ring. So you're not hearing that clang that you are with the Luke. And then going with the size comparison here, let me turn them upside down. So butt to butt, same thing with the Vader. This one is a little bigger than this one, just by like an inch. And same thing, you have that frosted tip on the Luke's Black Series compared to the custom. While I'm here, I'll go over one other thing. So we have, this is the full thing right here. You have your blade, and you hear that sound? You've taken that off. Put it back on, you have a different sound. So with this, since you're not carrying this around the whole park, you do get the bag. With the bag, it's able to hold the hilt and the saber portion, or separately. So when you put that in, you're going to want to make sure it's off the ground, and then boom. So now you have it soft at the front, at the very bottom. You have a pretty heavy pool noodle like material, and then you also have another soft portion here for your hilt. And then you have a little drawstring that you can put down, and now you're good to go. You're able to carry this throughout the park. You have that Savi logo on the side, as well as I did check it before. I've heard the blade can come off of the Black Series ones. There's a few screws. I've never done it because I don't know how the electronics are inside either, because I don't want to take it off and then have that damage it. But both of those sabers also fit in here. So if you're somebody like me who keeps a box for the Black Series saber or a different saber you have, you could end up buying, you can't buy this bag, there's a separate bag that they sell. You could buy that bag and put your Black Series sabers in that, instead of having them in the styrofoam and the cardboard. One other thing too is you have this little tag here, and on this tag actually gives you all the instructions for removing the kyber crystal, for changing the batteries, and that's something they don't have to tell you within the experience. Like I said, everything about this is great. I love having the hilt be removable. I love that I'm able to carry around this in the park. If you wanted to take this off, you can do that as well. It's just a little clasp and it's off. So if you wanted to, say you're buying that extra bag, which I'm planning to do, you could fold this up, put this inside, and you have something for either a friend who's thinking about getting one, or say a friend lost theirs, or they don't have a saber of their own. They can still use the bag if you wanted to lend it to them. Like I said, the weight on this thing is hefty. It's easily something you could hurt somebody with. If you're handing this to a kid, you're going to want to make sure you cradle this when handing it to them. You're going to want to make sure it's somewhere it's not going to fall. Because like I said, everything on this thing is a pretty heavy die cast. I think I've seen somebody say too, the inside is actually a plastic, but feeling it is not plastic, it's a die cast. So, cut myself short to end out the video. What I was saying was that this thing is definitely worth the price tag. If you look at the receipt after you purchase it, you'll see that it's not a purchase of the experience or just the saber. You're purchasing the bag, which if you were to buy that bag outside of the experience, it would be around $50. You're buying that blade section, which is another $50. If you buy a smaller one, I think it's $51. If you buy the big one, it's $55. And then it says kyber crystal on there, which is going to be another $15, and then the actual chassis. So if you think about it, you're actually purchasing this saber for around $85, which is not bad when you think about how, if you were to buy a legacy saber in the park, it'd be at least $115 for just this without that blade effect. So you'd have to buy that. That's another $55. So, the $200 is for everything. Not to mention the experience, which my wife was the one taking pictures of that you saw in the video. And I was glad she didn't take a video or anything more, because I feel like that experience, even though you could watch it on YouTube, that's something that is, like it said, it's an experience. It's something that should be experienced. If you're thinking about it or wanting it, do it. It's well worth it. I was lucky enough to get some extra money to do this, and it was one of the highlights. It was either this or the Cantina, and I could drink a I could spend $75 to $100 at the Cantina and have a coaster or a few cups, or I could make my own custom saber that I could beat somebody with. and with that, it's, like I said, it's definitely worth it. One thing I forgot to mention too was you do get this pin. This pin, once you get it, this is what identifies you for the experience. Like I said, there are those 4 styles. This was the power and control style pin, and when you look at it, it's a Disney pin. When you look at the back, it is they have the protection defense text on the back in Arabic, which I thought was great. And it's something that if I go back, I can bring my saber to the park, either in the bag or that extra bag that I want to purchase, have my pin on, and people will be like, oh man, he bought the saber already. And I know my wife, next time we go, we're going with our best friend, and those two are going to do their saber experiences, and they'll have the pin, and I'll be there with my lightsaber already, and, you know, knowing exactly what's in store for him, who knows next to nothing about the saber experience unless he watches this video. So, if you like the video, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you would choose as your saber color, or what style you would want to choose. So, mustache again. Peace.